Hi, hope you're doing well. I meant to do this video last week, but man, work has been brutal. Don't even want to go into it. It just sucks right now. And I've talked briefly about what's going on at my work, but I'm just not even going to bore you with that. I'm going to get right in to the video. And before I just turned, I used Zoom to record this. Before I just turned Zoom on, I couldn't even remember what my question was. But I just reminded myself, and I'm going to get right into it. My question was, what movie does everyone seem to love that you hate? Maybe hate's a strong word, but you know what I mean. What movie does everyone seem to adore, and you're just like, really? I don't get it. And you guys, I got a lot of responses to this one, so that's another reason why I just want to get right into it because I want to honor everybody's responses, and then I want to have an opinion of my own. So. And a lot of these, it's funny when I post these types of videos about movies that, like the last one I did were, overrated movies and stuff, or movies that haven't aged well. I'm going to start focusing on movies that people like rather than the movies that they think are overrated or everyone seems to love and that you hate. I'm going to start shifting over to more positive stuff. But the last one I posted, the last movie one, what was it? It was the what movies haven't aged well. And one of you mentioned Forrest Gump, which I agree with, and somewhat like people look for Forrest Gump. I mean, I'm learning these things as I go, but who the hell's searching for Forrest Gump? People were though. People were pissed off about my comments on Forrest Gump. I thought it was funny, man. People get so they take shit so personal, man. It's a fucking movie, people. Like, take it easy. But people were really pissed off. Someone challenged me, like, "Do you really want to say those things about this movie?" Yeah, I do. That's why I said it, genius. People get really, really irritated. They take things so personally. You're just not allowed to have an opinion other than theirs. People search for things they love, and then they want to hear people's comments and opinions that completely mirror their own. I don't know. People are just boring that way, but I thought it was funny. And I have to be careful about what I put in the title, basically. This is what I was leading up to. I put Forrest Gump in the title, not because I was clickbaiting or something, but because you guys answered that. So I just thought, okay, Forrest Gump, I'll put a few more in there. But people search for that shit. So I have to be careful about what I put in the title of this video. Because while I enjoy more people watching my videos, and a lot of people do watch these movie videos because of me putting Forrest Gump in the title and stuff, but I don't care to attract people who are just stumble across my channel so they can whine about something because I have a different opinion than them. I'm just not looking for that. So I'm going to try to be more careful this time around about what I put in the title. And honestly, I don't want to clickbait. I really don't. Being a clickbait asshole is like the most annoying thing I can think of when it comes to YouTube. So I honestly don't want to. I don't want to get caught up in that. So it might seem like I do that. Some people have accused me of that, but whatever, man. I just put titles of the things I talk about in the title. All right, I'm going to shut up now. Let's get to it. Comment number one. Most of these you guys mentioned, I very much agree with. A few of them, though, I just was like, I'm going to mention a few of them. One of them was just stupid. Some people just mention things offhand and then they don't back up their statement. They just throw a movie out there. I think they're just trying to get a reaction. Some of these were just ridiculous, but this first one is by user blah 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 blah. I've noticed too these people who come by and they just stumble across my channel. They always have names like this, user or whatever, user, and then there's a string of numbers and letters, but I don't think this guy's a usual watcher of my channel, but he says Boyhood. I love Richard Linklater, but that movie is just snooze town. I agree. And I'm going to take shit for this, and I most definitely will not put Richard Linklater in my title because people will find the video and then bash me. But I feel that way about Richard Linklater in general, man. I don't know. Don't get it. I watch his movies. Most of his movies are snooze town to me. He's just one of those directors like his popularity goes right over my head. He's obviously a competent filmmaker, but I can't think of a single movie he's done that I love. I know he's done Dazed and Confused. I thought that was a snoozer. I know he's done Waking Life. I thought that was an uber snoozer. I know people love that movie. I thought it was so annoying. Boyhood, I fell asleep. School of Rock is okay. He did School of Rock. I don't know. I guess that was fine for what it was. It's kind of a comedy vehicle for Jack Black. I could see I could see why people would enjoy that movie, but for the most part, I don't get it. And I'm sure many people will disagree, but yeah, Richard Linklater in general is someone that it seems like a lot of people love, and I have zero interest. Like I don't own a single movie from Richard Linklater in my collection. And as you know, I collect physical movies and I have thousands of movies in my collection. I don't think I have a single Richard Linklater movie in my catalog. I just I don't get it. Here's an obvious one. Independence Day. So formulaic. All the characters were tropes or were miscast except for the first lady. I haven't even seen it. David from David, you can if I read people's names, comments get disabled. You can see his name. Yeah, David, I haven't seen it. I mean, I love that you mentioned Independence Day. That seems like a pretty obvious one, but I'll go one further and say, why did you even bother watching it? I mean, didn't you know that that movie would be shit? Was it good then? Is it good now? I don't know because I would never watch it. So that's one of those movies too that's just made to put asses in seats, right? I don't know that it even got good reviews. I don't know that a lot of people even liked it. It was just, isn't it Will Smith in that, right? It's just one of those movies that they release over the 4th of July. They promote the shit out of it. They put asses in seats for like a week, and then it goes away and people forget about it. Never seen it. I feel like I've already seen it. You know, those types of movies. You see the trailer and you're like, oh yeah, okay. Pretty much can predict this movie. I know exactly what's going to happen from start to finish, top to bottom. I'm done. I'm out. No thanks. And if Will Smith is in it, why the fuck? Why? Why would I give him any of my time? Talk about something that people seem to love and I can't stand. Will Smith. Jesus, please give me a break. Dimension says The Lion King drives me fucking nuts. I also refuse to see the live action remake with my ex, and I won't ever do it. Never. I don't know. It's a cartoon. It's Disney. I've never seen it. Never seen The Lion King. I don't have anything against cartoons, but David Letterman said it best when he was like, I'm 50. I'm not going to spend 2 hours sitting in the theater watching a cartoon. And Letterman was right. And I don't think it depends on your age. It's like, really, if you already feel like you know exactly what's going to happen, why would you bother watching a movie like, I don't know, Pixar, Disney, cartoons? You already know what you're getting, man. You know exactly what you're getting. And life is too short to sit and watch a predictable Hollywood bore fest, don't you think? Meanwhile, a lot of these movies or a lot of these comments you're making, I haven't read these in a good week. So these are a surprise to me as I read these off. I have nothing planned today. I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my balls here. Oh yeah, I remember this one. By Squee. Thanks for your comments, by the way. I know you're kind of a newer person that's been commenting. I appreciate your comments. I don't really agree with you on a lot of stuff you say, but that's all right. I like that, you know. I like having a conversation. I don't really want people that all agree with each other. I think that would be boring. I do happen to agree with some of your stuff here, though. I agree with 50% and I disagree with the other 50%. Since Interstellar was already mentioned in the comments, and since there's no point in ranting about the blockbusters of yesteryear, I'll have to go with Whiplash. which is probably a hot take. It is with me. I don't necessarily hate the story, nor do I think it's a particularly bad film, but I do question Chazelle's attitude towards music. For someone that makes movies centered around musicians, boy, does he try his hardest to make them look miserable. I absolutely disagree. I think Whiplash is brilliant. I love that movie. I don't really like anything else Chazelle's done. I thought La La Land was a fucking bore fest. Chazelle's obviously a very talented filmmaker. I loved Whiplash. And I'm a trained musician. I grew up, I have friends who are. And yeah, I don't think of the movie isn't really centered in reality when it comes to the level of intensity with the character paid. What's his name? I want to say Jake. Is it J.K. Simmons? I almost said Rowling, but J.K. Simmons, who does a brilliant job. I think he won the Oscar for that, didn't he? It's not that intense, but people are very competitive. It's a much more passive aggressive thing in the music world. Like most musicians are sensitive artists, and so they're picking away at you. They're backstabbing you, but they're doing it quietly. They don't do it so publicly, at least in my experience. So it's just like a sport. It's just like anything else. It's a very competitive thing, but I don't yeah, I don't agree with what you say about his attitude towards music, musicians making them look miserable. You don't know miserable musicians, really? I sure do. The majority of musicians I met are fucking miserable. So I don't know. I don't see it the same way you do. So I love Whiplash. I think it's brilliant. Um, and at the end, you say, I don't think it's a bad film on its own. It looks really good. The actors do have great performances. I agree with you. And then at the end, you say, I hate Nolan more though. And someone did mention Christopher Nolan, and I agree with that. I'm going to get to that in a minute. I do think Christopher Nolan is obscenely overrated and overliked generally, and I'll get to that. Yeah, here's one from Cloverfield. A Star is Born, Lady Gaga version. Mamma Mia, close. Yeah, Star is Born. Again, that's not even a movie I bothered watching. Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. Again, why would I give 2 hours of my life to that? Why? It's a movie we've already seen on top of it. And Bradley Cooper, it's like he's like Shia LaBeouf to me. Like, why are we giving these people these hacky actors careers? Don't get me started on that. Bradley Cooper has been in a few good movies. He was in Nightmare Alley, and I thought he did a pretty damn good job in that. But I don't like him. I don't know. I think Bradley Cooper's a bore. Most of his movies, he's just a one note actor, and I don't quite get it. I don't understand. Well, I get it. He's a good looking guy. That doesn't make you a good actor, though. And Shia LaBeouf, yeah, don't even get me started on that. But I haven't even seen Stars Born, and why would I? But that's a good inclusion. I'm glad you mentioned it. But come on, yeah, come on. I'm not wasting my time watching that shit. Okay, here we go. Mizanola, what's up, dude? Interstellar. I thought it wallowed too much in self-importance and sappy emotions. Some of the character writing was way off too, which reminded me of Prometheus. I think that I have not seen that movie. I haven't seen it. It's one of those movies where I see the trailer and I'm just like, why? No. Mm-mm. I can't do it. I'm at a state in my life where I have to see a movie that's original that has to go at least in one new, fresh direction, and you can kind of tell just by watching the trailers these days what a movie's about, where it's going to go, where it's going to take you, where it's not going to take you. Interstellar, I saw the trailer for that and I was like, no, I'm not watching this. So I haven't seen it. So I shouldn't speak on it too much. Haven't seen it. But I imagine then, yeah, it's crap. Uncle Fucker, how's it going, man? Titanic. Yeah, I just cannot watch it all the way through when it's on and my wife is watching it. I fall asleep or go find something more entertaining to do. Does your wife like it? Because it seems like a chick movie, and that's fine. Women need movies too. Men have sometimes there are movies that are made for men, sometimes there are movies that are made for women. I think Titanic is the latter. Titanic, it's yeah, I've seen it. I hadn't seen it forever. I was purposely not watching it, and then I just saw it recently, in I don't know, some point in the last 5 years or so. It's just like any Jim Cameron recent Jim Cameron movie, because his early movies are fucking great, especially his first three or four, I should say. His first movie was Piranha 2, but I'm talking about his first major movies. He did Terminator, he did Aliens, then he did The Abyss, which are brilliant. All three of those movies are brilliant in their own way. I think he slid off the cliff a little bit after that. He did Terminator 2 and then True Lies after that, which both of those movies are they're all right. And then he did Titanic, and then he's been obsessed with Avatar ever since. Titanic. I watched Titanic. It looked phenomenal, but it was like, how long is it? It was 3.5 hours, really? You know, the first hour and a half was that dumb, sappy love story, and then the final 90 minutes though were kind of cool. It's the ship was sinking. You know, that was cool. But you have to sit through that whole first half, that whole first act or whatever. It's tough, man. I shouldn't suggest that it's a chick movie. That's probably not a smart thing to say. I'm sure there are plenty of men who like that movie. Not for me though. Yeah, no thanks. It's well done. It looks great, and Jim Cameron is a master at what he does in terms of making a movie look cool. That whole part with the old woman too, like at the end when she drops the stone and the jewel into the water. Like, get the fuck out of here. It's bullshit. Come on, who the hell is gonna do that? Um, Actually, wait. I'm gonna save that one for last because I just am, and I'll explain later. Here we go. Shakespeare in Love. Yeah. And Aziraphale, how are you, man? I haven't seen your name around for a while. I like short, sweet, to the point. No fluff. Now, again, I will admit I have never watched this movie, the whole thing. I've never seen the whole movie. I started watching it when it first came out, and I was disgusted. This was one of those moments because this won like Best Picture. You know, the Oscars gave it Best Picture. This was one of those moments back in the day when this won. I can't remember the movies it beat too. I mean, literally all the other movies were better, but it picked this one because that's just how people were being influenced at the time. And of course, no one gives a shit about this movie now, but I've never seen it. It was one of those movies I was like, why would I sit here and watch this? No, never seen it, so I'm going to keep it brief, but I have seen maybe the first 45 minutes. And it was like, yeah, turning this off. Not for me. Not for me. Raz, what's up, man? Raz Mix, my neighbor. Hate to me means I wish I didn't exist. There are tons of beloved movies I don't like, but I would never want the to not. I would never want the nut to not exist. Okay. Sorry, look, I got a couple extra words in there. Except for Greece, the world would be a better place if it never got made. Well, that's a strong feeling, man. Many of the other movies I hate have already been named by others in the comment section. I mean, okay, I don't know. Agree. I don't know. Grease is fine. I don't know. I've seen it once. That was enough. Musicals, you know, any scenario where everyone can spontaneously break into song, I'm out. You know, like no thanks. I don't want to hear it. If the surroundings are in danger of someone bursting out and singing, I'm just like I can't do this. No thanks. Go take your song and go somewhere else with it. So okay, Greece. I don't know. I've seen it once. I just like your response. Like the world would be a better place. I don't think I've ever seen such a strong negative emotion toward Greece. So there you go. Coming at you from Razmix. Hope you're doing well, man. Hey, Caffeine Club. What's up, dude? I love horror films. I mean, I outright love them. Something about the Terrifier series featuring Art the Clown just grinds my gears. Low budget, bad acting, bad writing, good gore, boring as shit. I detest them, yet so many horror fans blow their load over them. I irrationally hate the character. He's a wannabe horror icon. It just sucks. I have to say, never heard of it. I have no clue what you're talking about. That's right. I am that lame. I have no clue what you're talking about, so I can't speak to that. But I believe you. Maybe one of these days, years, decades, I'll check that out, but I have no clue what you're talking about. Ian Emery. Ian, what's up, dude? How you doing, man? My guy over in England. How you doing? This is easy. In 1968, an 8-year-old, my as an 8-year-old, my mom and dad took me to the cinema to see a war film, The Sound of Music. It sounds like you're traumatized, Ian, as you should be. The Sound of Music. This damaged me so much. I hated musicals for years after seeing this. Hence, getting my sense of humor from my late parents. I still hate the sound. Yeah, man. I mean, come on. Who the hell sits through this shit? The Sound of Music, and you were 8. I mean, doesn't the typical 8-year-old have enough trauma around them? Why do they have to be subjected to further trauma and have to sit and watch The Sound of Music? I'm sure you much rather would have been locked in a closet or starved for a week than have to watch that movie. I agree. Does anyone in my audience like The Sound of Music? It's like a torture chamber watching that movie. I hope you're well, Ian. You always make me laugh. You always have good comments. Thanks, man. I really appreciate you. I appreciate all of you too, man. Thank you. I love you guys for coming back here. I should have said that in the beginning of the video. Thanks, man. I really appreciate you guys. It's I forget to say that. I should say that more. I'm always humbled by you guys coming by and subscribing, and I still can't believe anybody watches this channel. I can't even believe it. So thank you. It's awesome. Dave Ski. Oh yeah, okay, I remember this one. Dave, I think Dave, you were the first one to comment to this question. Probably going to get some hate for this, but I could never understand the love for The Princess Bride. The production values look like a TV movie. The acting is stilted and the humor is juvenile, bordering on cringy. Maybe that was the point. I think it was, but I just don't get it. A fairy tale without any real magic whatsoever. Felt like a bad Mel Brooks wannabe by people who didn't understand what made Brooks funny to begin with. Wally Shawn was the only highlight, but he was sadly killed off too early. Dear God, Andre the Giant shouldn't have been allowed to talk. That's what you call it, dreadful. You are gonna get a lot of, you're gonna get a lot of hate, a lot of hate for that. But I like the Princess Bride. I mean, yeah, it's stilted, but I thought it was funny. I think it's a great movie. I do. Um, but your opinion is valid. Especially if you're a big Wallace Shawn fan. Wallace Shawn didn't last very long at all, but he's brilliant in everything he does. Everything he did, he was just amazing. I like Andre the Giant. I mean, I thought there was room for him, as big as he was, and as as much as you couldn't understand him. But I don't know. I like the movie. I think it works. It's a goofy fantasy. Got a little Mel Brooks in there, like you said. Um, I like it. I like it. I love to hear what other people think, though, because I know people love that. That's a great example of a movie that should be brought up, I think. Because yeah, I think most people love that movie. So it's cool to see someone else who doesn't like it, because you don't see that very often. Yapana, hey man, what's up? Anything by Pixar, yeah. This goes into the Lion King, that we were talking about before. Graphics and character movement are impressively realistic, but the films are essentially all running off the same formula. Yeah, the same moralistic storylines and woke and festive messages. Yes, the films are aimed at kids, a kids' audience with some subliminal adult humor, but for the most part, I find the films too tedious, predictable, and safe. When I was growing up in the 80s, kids' stuff was edgy and dark. It's like anything risky today is not allowed, so kids are protected and wrapped up in fluffy cotton wool storylines. Once you've watched one Pixar movie, you've watched the same thing dressed up differently over and over again. Boring. Yeah. One film I'll single out would be Citizen Kane. I've never understood why it gets put at the top of those best movies ever made lists. Yeah, in terms of your Pixar, yeah. I mean, I agree. It's all about Pixar, Disney movies, whatever you want to call them. They're part of the checklist culture. That's what I call it. It's woke culture. I call it checklist culture. There's a checklist that you have to mark everything off right down the list, or otherwise you're not allowed to make a movie anymore. I mean, can you imagine? You say in the 80s, children's stuff was dark, and it was, but go back to the 30s and 40s. Go watch Bambi, you know, go watch Fantasia, go watch Dumbo. You know, these are deeply sad, traumatic movies, man, and these were movies aimed at kids. But I still think, having said all that, those movies have a place for kids. I mean, what better way to get kids ready for the traumas of life than to show them some of that in animated form? I don't see anything wrong with that. As long as it's done tastefully and it's a beautiful story like Bambi was, or Fantasia, or Dumbo, or even Looney Tunes. You can't even see Looney Tunes cartoons anymore because they're deemed too dangerous. I mean, anyway, that's a different conversation. You know how I stand on that, but you're right. Yeah, Pixar. Why would you even bother? Who watches that shit? Unless you have kids or you're a parent. Unless you're a kid or you're a parent, why would you watch that shit? There's no reason to. Zero reason. And you know what? I agree about Citizen Kane. I really do. Um, I feel like I'm really good at understanding cultural context and years that these things came out. You have to understand the time it was made and it was released. I get that. I mumble about that all the time on this very channel, but Citizen Kane is a movie I've never been able to sit and watch and enjoy. I can appreciate it, I guess, because I read about what it did for movies, but when I watch it to this day, I get bored, man. I can't sit through it. I watch movies in that's a really old movie, obviously. It's going on 100 years old here. So it's been around a while, and I know it changed everything, but when I watch Alfred Hitchcock, movies of his that were released around the same time, I get it. I see it. I see why Hitchcock is considered by many to be the greatest director of all time. I understand it. I mean, you watch a Hitchcock movie and you're still moved by it to this day. Go watch Vertigo. Go watch Rear Window. Go watch Rebecca. You can watch the Notorious. Go watch these movies. I mean, they're brilliant to this day. But when I watch Citizen Kane, it's like, I don't know. Um, yeah, it's an old movie and I appreciate it, but I agree with you. It's when I think of watching a movie like pre 1970 or whatever, I usually watch Hitchcock or I'll watch Kubrick or I just watched Lawrence of Arabia the other day. I mean, people, you've seen Lawrence of Arabia, right? If you somehow never seen Lawrence of Arabia, please, you need to see this movie. I mean, this movie is what, over 60 years old now, and it's brilliant. It's more brilliant than it's ever been, especially if you watch the 4K on a big screen OLED Dolby Vision television. It takes on a whole new fucking meaning. But yeah, I watched Lawrence of Arabia and I'm like, this. I can't imagine what people were doing in 1962 when this movie came out. It's mind blowing now in 2024. It's brilliant now. To imagine people in 1962 watching this, crazy. Or even The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. You watch that movie now and you're like, what? Like, how brilliant can a movie be? So you picture people watching it back then and you're just like, and I know spaghetti westerns got a bad rap back then, but I'll argue with anybody that The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is not only the greatest Western, it's arguably the greatest movie ever made, period. Same with Lawrence of Arabia. But when I watch Citizen Kane, I don't know. It's a good movie, but I'm sad to say I don't. Well, I agree with you. I don't see it. Now, if people love that movie, I'd love to hear from you. Moving on here. Johnny, what's up, man? AI. Artificial intelligence. I know the whole story behind the creation of the film with Kubrick to Spielberg, the fact that Ministry is in it and so on. It sucked anyway. Yep, it sure did. Interstellar is terrible too. Yeah, AI saw it once. It was enough, man. I couldn't help but think, and it's probably unfair to do this, but I couldn't help but think about Kubrick while I was watching it. So maybe that was unfair to Spielberg. But I've talked about Spielberg before, and I feel like there's a version of AI by Spielberg, and then there's a totally different version of AI that would have been made by Kubrick. You know, Spielberg's version is PG. Kubrick's version would have been X, rated X. I prefer Kubrick's version. I want to see his vision of this. Spielberg, I just don't feel like Spielberg had a lot of passion for that movie. He made that movie for his friend because Kubrick and Spielberg were buddies. So I feel like he made it for his friend, but it was not a good movie. It was very patchy. Um, do people love that though? I don't know. And yeah, Al was in it. Yeah, yeah. Glenn Bell. What's up, Fonte? Glenn Belafonte. Danny Darko. Yes, I'm so glad you brought this up. Yes, fuck that movie. I remember when that movie came out, like everyone was so obsessed with it. And I remember watching it, like, really? God, that's disappointing that people love this movie. That movie is shit, man. I saw it one time and it was just, it's like a bad extended music video. It's like you turned MTV on. It's supposed to be all dark and heavy, and no, it's not. The people who think that movie is dark and heavy, it's like you guys haven't seen dark and heavy movies. You don't know. You don't even know what that means. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I couldn't agree more. Fuck Donnie Darko. That's not a good movie, and people do love that. E.T. Fish nuts. What's up? E.T. The alien looked fake. The kids were annoying. Overly sentimental. Well, it's Spielberg, isn't it? Even the soundtrack gets on my nerves. Yeah, it's Spielberg. E.T.'s fine, whatever. I mean, I don't. I've seen it a few times in my life. I saw the damn thing in the theater. All right, I was a kid, and I loved it because I was a kid. E.T.'s all right. I've talked about Spielberg before. I don't mind that he's sentimental. I don't mind sentiment if it's done in the right context. And my problem with sentiment is if it strays away from like fantasy like for instance, I was talking about Munich by Spielberg. Like if you've got a very pointed political message, or rather not Munich, but Schindler's List even more. If you got a very pointed political message and then you saturate it with sentiment, I think you take away or dilute the message. And I don't prefer that. But, that's Spielberg. That's the kind of director he is. He tells stories in the way he wants to tell them. I love Spielberg as much as anybody. I think he's changed the world as we know it in terms of how we view movies. But E.T. I can take or leave it, whatever. That's Spielberg in full on sentiment. Like he's never been more sentimental. But I think it's got its place. I mean, for kids, man, that movie's amazing. It's one of the best movies ever for kids. And there's a place for that. Mondo, he says mine is definitely Top Gun. It's a generic piece of trash with one of my most hated actors, Scientology poster boy Tom Cruise. I'm assuming you're meaning the original Top Gun. Dude, I couldn't agree with you more, man. I never understood it back then. I still don't get it now. And that Top Gun Maverick, I wouldn't even bother watching it. It's no, never understood the popularity with that. I saw the first Top Gun when it came out, and I thought it was a joke. Even as a kid, I was like, what is this? I don't want to watch this. Come on, Top Gun. Now, I do like Tom Cruise. Sorry, I do. He's an annoying prick. But as an actor, he's pretty good, man. You know, TC, you gotta love him. Have you ever seen Tropic Thunder? I mean, TC is amazing in that movie. He's been great. He's been great. Born on the 4th of July. Have you ever seen this? Wow. Tom Cruise is amazing in that movie. He's a great actor. I know he's annoying, But I'm able to separate these things. You know, I can listen to Michael Jackson off the wall. I can listen to that album and separate the fact that he was what he was. You know, I can watch a Tom Cruise movie and separate the fact that he's an annoying prick. And, you know, he's probably a very annoying person, but sometimes I see him do things, make choices in the industry that I actually have a lot of respect for. So I don't agree with his religious Scientologistic, or whatever you want to call it, beliefs. Um, but I think somewhere inside of him, he's a good man. He's a good person. He tries to do what he thinks is best. So whatever. I'm not a huge fan, but I do think he's a good actor, and he can think what he wants. I mean, Scientology's dumb. I agree with you on that. You can't help but sometimes someone has such a dopey belief, you can't help but judge them a little bit. But as I get older, I try not to judge people because it never serves me well, ever. I mean, when I was younger, I used to judge people, and I still do it to a certain extent, and it just never does anybody any good. So here's one by Demon Ping. Demon Ping, 23.99, Queen of the Damned. The book was so great, but the movie sucks so fucking hard. I've never seen the movie, but that's one of those movies too where I saw the poster and the trailer, and I was like, why? Why would I watch this movie? I have no reason to watch this movie. Why would I want to torture myself? No, 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 thanks. I have not seen that movie. But you're probably right. Here's one. Okay, now here's one I have a beef with. There's a couple here, damn it. James Rubio says, Reservoir Dogs. I don't get the hype. Really? I love that movie. Reservoir Dogs. Love it to this day. In fact, it's one of my favorite Tarantino movies. I love it, love it. I saw that in the theater before anyone knew who Tarantino was. It was, I'm wondering if you saw it when it was new. Did you see it in the theater? That is my question for you. When that movie came out in the theater, it was a revelation. The whole world of movies changed overnight. Even before Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction really got it in motion. But Reservoir Dogs was huge. No one had ever seen anything like it. Reservoir Dogs is a fucking brilliant movie, and you're just dead wrong on that one. But hey, I appreciate your opinion. But no, please, Reservoir Dogs is brilliant. All right. And here's the other one. I'll let you guys use this. See, this is from user blah blah blah. This is someone who just stumbled upon one of my last movie video and posted this and then walked away. He didn't explain himself. He didn't say anything. He just said The Big Lebowski, vile film adored by others. Any Tom Cruise action movie. Vile? How is The Big Lebowski vile? I don't know. He didn't explain himself or herself, so it's just a stupid comment. The Big Lebowski is one of the greatest films of all time. But again, my question was, what do most people love and you hate? So there you go. I question the authenticity of this opinion because they didn't give any reason. The film is a lot of things. I don't know how it's vile. Are you offended by the F word? Does the F word offend you? I don't know. Please. The Big Lebowski is fucking brilliant filmmaking. Arguably the Coen brothers' best movie, which is saying how much? It's saying a hell of a lot. We're talking about the Coen brothers here. To say that the Coen brothers have a best movie is really saying something. What's better? I mean, I would argue maybe, well, Barton Fink. I love Barton Fink. Maybe that one. Barton Fink, Raising Arizona, Miller's Crossing, Blood Simple, Fargo, um, Serious Man, Buster Scruggs, No Country for Old Men. Are you kidding me? The Big Lebowski could be above all of those. So I know it's a massive statement, but it's true. So get the fuck out of here, Big Lebowski, please. Vile. That comment is vile. All right, Liz, I saved you for last because A, you're awesome. You're an awesome chick. And B, you always have important things to say. and C, pretty much everything you say is correct, according to me. And so I'm saving you for last because I love what you say, and it leads into what I want to say, which is my choice. So Liz is last because I saved the best for last. Liz, I love you, man. I don't have any favorites, by the way, okay? I love all of you. But Liz is something special, though. She's pretty fucking awesome. You guys should all respect her. This is a tough one. I may get my ass handed to me, but it's all good. Anything Ari Aster, yeah. Particularly his offering of Midsommar. While the visuals are stunning at times, it does little to help the story. I don't think the film is lazily displayed. I simply didn't like it. It's a story of loneliness, loss, isolation, a dead relationship. Peele's scheming ass, ritual sacrifice, a tortured boyfriend, and finally, indoctrination. The characters lack substance and are surface level at best. I find them to be stale. Danny, the protagonist, goes through immense loss while navigating through a relationship that neither she nor her boyfriend want to be in. But neither can seem to cut the cord. Her boyfriend ends up getting drugged, taken advantage of, then burned alive by her choosing. What a way to end a relationship. And a hollow bear corpse with his dead homies and some other people. I mean, just watch The Wicker Man. P.S. Okay. Um, yeah, absolutely. Is it Ari? Ari? I don't give a shit. Are you kidding me with this guy, people? Really? You think his movies are scary? Is that where we're at? Oh my God. A couple years ago. Well, all right. I don't want to get deep into that. Let me think. A couple years ago, a lady in my life, I'll just put it that way, she called herself a horror fan, even though she'd never seen American Werewolf in London and never seen The Exorcist, but she was a big horror fan. In fact, she had a podcast about, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but she had a podcast about horror movies. She'd never seen those movies. She'd never seen she'd never seen The Howling. She'd never I mean big horror movies. She'd never seen them. It seemed like everything from 2005 onward she'd seen. One of her favorite horror movies was The Descent. Well, anyway, have you ever seen that piece of fucking dumb shit? People are actually scared by these movies, y'all. It's hilarious. But she lent me Hereditary because she loved it. She thought it was horrifying and scary. She gave me the Blu-ray and I took it home and watched it alone. Thank Christ she wasn't with me. And I just laughed. It was the most hilariously unscary thing I'd ever seen. Unintentionally funny, dumb, overtly acted, overtly directed, hilarious bore fest. And again, unintentionally funny. It's like, are people scared by this? It's just, it's been such a huge, major shift in expectations that I can't even explain it. But I saw Midsommar. Yeah, I saw Midsommar as well. I had the same feeling. I'm like, really? This is scaring people? Just like all those classic horror tropes, like they show someone's face and then you see all this dead space to the side of them. And it's like, obviously something's going to pop up right there. Why do you think you're seeing that extra space over here? Why do you think the person's face is on the far side of the camera and we're seeing all this? Because something's about to happen. It's not scary if you see it coming a mile away. And that seems to be what Ari Aster is good at. He's good at showing faces to the side with a big empty space over here. Basically, and then the big cueing music. No one's allowed to be scared anymore. You have all these unconscious visual cues and auditory cues, music telling you how to feel, visuals telling you how to feel, everyone explaining what you should be seeing and not seeing. That's not horror, folks. That's not scary. That's formulaic drivel. And that's Ari Aster. That's the kind of movies he makes. He's a bore. He's a bore who makes boring movies for boring people. Should I put Ari Aster in the title to lure those people in? Oh my God. I don't know if I can take that much hate, man. It's been too intense. My work has been so intense. I don't know that I can take, I don't know. I know that's a hot take, but Aster he's a fucking hacky director. All right. He does not make scary movies. And if you think his movies are scary, reach out to me and I'll give you a list of movies you should be watching that are actually scary, that actually don't hold your hand and don't treat you like an idiot. Those are the types of movies I like. The types of movies that you don't see the horror coming. That's scary. Why? How is it scary if you see it coming? Get the fuck out of here, Ari Aster. Please give me a break. All right. So that's it in terms of comments. Liz, thanks. So uh, this leads me to my choice, and I know I'll take shit for this, but I don't care, and I'm just going to say it. Get Out and Jordan Peele's entire career. And I know I'm not allowed to say that, but I'm going to say it anyway. The movie Get Out is one of the most intense bore fests I've ever seen, and it's basically cinematic white guilt. Now, is there a place for that? Obviously. The only people that like that movie are white people, and I'm a white guy. I certainly don't like it. When I first saw Get Out, it had so much hype. I mean, people loved this movie. You guys remember what happened? I mean, it got so much hype. People couldn't get enough Get Out. I watched it. It was like the experience I had watching Hereditary. I was laughing, and some of it obviously is supposed to be funny. It's a satire, really. Get Out's not really a horror movie. At least I think it's trying to be a satire, but it ends up being a pretty empty, meaningless, virtue signaling little piece of white trashy guilt. It's not a good movie. It's not smart. Again, I said this in my last video. If you want to see some truly inspiring, well done movies about racism, just reach out to me. I'll let you know what they are. Get Out is not one of them. And another thing I get I get sick of is you're not allowed to not like Jordan Peele movies. If you don't like his movies, you're just deemed a racist, or you don't have good taste, or you're not connected to reality or something. No, sometimes you just have to give your opinion and be honest about something. I don't think Jordan Peele is a good director. I don't even think he's funny. Do you remember that show he had, that Key and Peele show? Did anyone think that was funny? I guess people did. It lasted, but man, I didn't get the comedy there either. I'm glad the guy's able to make a living. I don't bemoan that of anyone. Jordan Peele's made a good living. Good for him. But I don't think he's funny, and I don't think his movies are scary. And I think he's riding this wave. He's not, I'm sorry, he's a hack. He's a hack fucking director. Every one of his movies has some stupid utterance for a title, some one syllabled, monosyllabic, simpleton word. Us. Nope. You guys don't see a pattern here? You're being pandered to. Not so much by Jordan Peele. The guy's going to make a living. The movie studios, picture the scene here. Jordan Peele, he's got one movie, Get Out, and it does really well. And then all these movie executives are like, we want that Jordan Peele feeling. What can you give us next? What's the next monosyllabic, one-syllabled word title that we can come up with next time, Jordan? Oh, it's Us? Great. And then a couple years later, oh, it's Nope this time? Awesome. And then people, they market it and they say it's a Jordan Peele movie and it's got a one-syllable title with very few letters. People see that, like robots, like machines. They plop down their money and they march to the theater and they watch the movie and they go home completely forgetting about what they just saw. And then it's on to the next forgettable, throwaway, trashy shit. It's all disposable, and that's Jordan Peele's true talent, I think, is making disposable entertainment. There's always room for it. That's why Michael Bay has a career. Jordan Peele, I think he's smart enough to know that he's captured onto a moment here. It's like, let me make some movies. Doesn't matter if they're good or not. This minority over here in the film critic community, they're just going to automatically like the movie because they're not allowed to dislike it publicly. So we're going to make enough money to do several more of these, and I'm going to take my money. I'm going to retire. I'm sure there is a little bit of that. Maybe he's too egocentric to see it, but his movies are shit. He's not a real director. He's a hack. And again, I'll remind you what hack means. It means you are being pandered to. Get Out is not a good movie. It's a movie that makes white people feel better about their inherent racism. White people can go watch Get Out and then go home and think they've done their part for humanity and racism, and they can put their Black Lives Matter posters in their windows and their houses, in their neighborhoods where they've just gentrified all the black people out of it. They can watch that movie, they can go home and feel about their own racism. They can feel better about their own racism. That is my opinion. And that's all Get Out ever was. It came out at a really good time. It was very well timed. And the movie is, it thinks it's way smarter and funnier and scarier than it actually is. It truly is a bore fest. Get Out is one of the most overhyped, silly, dumb, empty-headed movies I've ever seen in my life. It's nowhere near as smart as you people think. It is just an opinion, and I know I'll take shit for this, but Get Out can get the fuck out. I saw it once and I'll never see it again. I haven't bothered watching any other Jordan Peele movie because I know exactly what I'm getting. No thanks. So again, I'm glad Jordan Peele has a career, but and there's a long laundry list of movies that I feel everyone loves and I cannot stand, but Get Out was kind of that hot take for me. I knew people would have an opinion on that, so there you are. I'm sure you're formulating your opinions, but yeah, Get Out and Ari Aster, man, both I think of them kind of in the same like the same world within the movie community, like they stumbled onto this audience that I feel is going to be very temporary. This audience of like snowflakes and social justice warriors where that kind of predictable nonsense makes sense and you can package it and promote it in a certain way and you can push it out to the public and keep it in a theater for a couple weeks and make a ton of money and then move on to the next disposable piece of trash. I think of those two directors kind of in the same world. They're really not that good at what they do, but there are enough people publicly that love what they do and are being entranced by their bullshit. And so they have a career. When you think about it, that's all life is anyway. People getting suckered and fooled and transfixed and hypnotized by other people's bullshit. I mean, that's all life is. But in movie form, I look no further than Ari Aster and Jordan Peele when I want to be pandered to. When I want someone to talk to me like a little child, like I don't understand things. Because things are scary. Things in the world are scary, and I need to be cued for everything. I need music. I need a big space next to me to show me that something's about to happen. And then I jump out of my skin because I pretend to be scared. Get the fuck out of here. There are real filmmakers out there making real movies. Again, I'm going to mention this again. I mentioned it in my last video. The Zone of Interest. I'm going to promote this again. That's a fucking movie. If people want to know how to make an engrossing, interesting, intelligent movie, go watch The Zone of Interest. There you go. All right, people. Thanks very much for watching. As always, I love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging with me and subscribing and watching. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.